God changed me, who was a sinner, and so He can change Cambodia.
Big sinner right here. Friggin' sinner, oh my.
You sinner.
And then
Sinner.
come to dorm dinner.
Why do you think Christians are called to be missional? Like, drop some verses if you can.
Dude, that's Joe, Sandra, that's not me. Okay. Okay. First of all, obviously there's a bunch of biblical verses that say that we should go. Like Paul ran to the Romans and he wants to go back, but he knows his job is to speak the gospel where it's not known. And that's honestly, that's kind of the purpose of life. That's why we're here. Every decision we make should so clearly be, okay, this is somehow gonna share the gospel. This is somehow gonna spread the gospel. And whether it's you working somewhere or somewhere else, who you marry, I guess, even where you live, all that stuff, every decision should be based off, can I spread the gospel somehow? And if your answer is yes, then you're doing fine.
Why you should go on missions is because I think going on missions, especially through STSM, you realize how urgent missions is. How urgent it is to spread the gospel, not only to non-believers here, but also elsewhere. There's so many lost people out there that haven't been able to hear the good news, that haven't been able to even have the opportunity to listen what the gospel really is. And if you think about it, I remember there was this one thing that our leader told us. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but when he was going to the airport to drop to pick up some stuff with missionary James at India, he said that he saw the scariest thing in his life. Everyone was super shocked, oh, what is it? And he's I just saw a man get run over by a truck and died at that moment. The scariest thing wasn't that he died, and everyone was super confused, what the heck are you talking about, Isaiah? He's no, the scariest thing is that I just saw a man go straight to hell. How are we gonna be so selfish about having this good news but not sharing it? There are plenty of people out there that are non-believers, and the scariest thing is that if they die today, right now, that they're going to hell. That's what we're called to do. It even says it in Matthew 28, everyone knows that verse, go and therefore make disciples of all nations. That's the last request that Jesus gave to us before he rose to heaven. You're called to do it as saints and as disciples of Jesus Christ. You're called to make disciples everywhere you go. So why would you go against that? Go against your purpose in life and not do that.
I think God wants us to taste a glimpse of heaven, and I think it's an opportunity where God has given us to just go see and experience what God is working in different countries. It's not something that I'm so good so I'm gonna go, but I think it's more of partaking in what God is already doing.
Matthew 28:18, pretty sure those are the verses. Go out and make disciples of all nations. Care about the world outside of you. Imagine how much God's heart is breaking for us and for everyone in this world who don't know him. And I think if you can take a part of that, that is something that God will be pleased by. Go because God.
You should go on missions because it's one of the most profound, life-changing experiences you'll ever have. I think whether or not you're a new Christian, old Christian, maybe not even Christian, these things will really formulate your spiritual growth. And I think that every Christian is called to be missional, whether it's through sending or actually going. Because if you look in 2 Corinthians, right, it says that we are jars of clay, right? And we have this treasure, the gospel, within us. And even though we might be weak, even though we might be unextraordinary, right, just jars of clay, the gospel is still able to be preached and shared through us. Even though it is God ultimately working through his Holy Spirit, we still have our part in that. And I think that if we are saved and we have that joy of salvation, then naturally we should be overflowing to those around us. That, you know, and like, how are people supposed to know the gospel if they can't hear the gospel? So like, we are the ones who are charged with doing that, right? Like, everyone knows, come on, like the Great Commission, like we gotta follow that. It's not just a suggestion by Jesus, right? It's a command by Jesus to go to make disciples of all nations, right? So I think as Christians, like, we either have to go, we either have to send, or we're being disobedient.